I'd like to call the meeting to order and welcome everybody to the September 28th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Planning Commission meeting. First item of business is to approve the meeting minutes from the August 31st, 2021 regular meeting. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mayor Cole. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by, I believe, Mr. Rutledge. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. My apologies, Mr. Holliday.
All good.
Thank you, sir. First item of business, final plat, Pinnacle Point, Section 5, 23 lots on 11.79 acres requested by Huddleston Steel. Property located on Sparrow Gap Drive, tax map 32, parcel 24, R1 Low Density Residential Zoning District, property owned by Deluxe Home LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thank you. And before we get started, I would like to announce there'll be a workshop for the Planning Commission on Tuesday, October the 19th. And that will be with Volkert, who is our consultant that's rewriting the zoning ordinance. So that's Tuesday night, October 19th at 5:30 in this room. And I'll be sending out an email about that also. And of course, as we get a little bit closer, it's about 3 weeks away, give or take. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. We will.
So moving on to the agenda, this is item 1, which is a request for final plat approval at Pinnacle Point, Section 5. And this is requested by Huddleston Steel. And this item's been here several months, so we'll dig in here. On the ortho photography, you can see this is south of Lake Road, and that's next to Rock Springs Elementary School. So this is the site that's outlined in blue here to the west of the school. And the applicant is proposing to place 23 homes, all single-family homes on this acreage. It's 11.79 acres total. And here's a closer view at the area where the development is proposed. You can see it's a wooded area as you approach Lake Road, and then there's been some clearing to the south as you get down by the rear of the school. This map is a zoning map, so the orange color is all R1 low density, and this site is also R1 low density, shown here in the orange. There is some R2, but it doesn't adjoin this property. That's the ridge. I believe that's phase 2, the ridge up there. That's R2, but the rest is R1. Here's some photos from the site. That's looking north. And these were taken this summer. So I know several of y'all have seen these pictures several times by now. This is the proposed layout. So this is the final plat. And as you know, this property is stretched out north to south. So the main street there that's proposed will run north to south, and then there's a cul-de-sac. When you turn in off of Lake, there'll be a cul-de-sac immediately on the left with these 7 lots. And then they are proposing a stub out to the southern end of the development. So by the way, the north arrow is here, and it's to the right, so north is not up. And here's a closer view of the proposed layout. And this is the modification of the existing detention pond that the applicant has provided. And all of this, of course, is also in your packets tonight. The planning comments have all been addressed over the last several months at workshops, and I know Mr. Leach, the city engineer, had some comments, so I'll turn it over to him. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Leach, please, sir.
As you can see with the sheet Mr. Logan had, the engineer did submit his sheet indicating that they intend to basically restore the pond to fairly close to what its original design volume was, and modify the outlet structure to lower the basically the discharge relationship in the pond. That's the height of the water in the pond. The height of the water in the pond is what's causing the surcharging there at Benjamin Franklin. So essentially, by getting the water out of the pond faster and taking back the storage that's been lost due to sedimentation or not being built correctly, it should, based on the engineer's calculations, basically restore it to functionality.
Very good, thank you, sir. Any questions or comments from the board? And is there a representative here this evening for this project? Come to the podium and state your name and address. Start.
Enoch Gerald with Huddleston Steel Engineering, and Mr. Scott Butler, the developer's here as well.
Thank you, sir. Scouts?
Mr. Logan, you indicated in our packet we had some information on the pond, because I don't seem to have it. Does anyone else have that information? So we don't have that information.
It's the same information from the workshop, so I don't know that, maybe Mr. Enoch didn't see it necessary to resubmit that.
It was just that from the comments from the workshop was submit a revised construction plan to include pond improvements. So I would like to see a document so we can put that as part of the minutes to ensure that it gets handled at a later date. If this board changes, things may get through.
Typically, construction plans aren't submitted to the planning commission, they're just submitted to me, and I either approve, disapprove, or send them back for revisions. They did submit those revised construction documents. He's got a copy in hand there.
Very good.
Sure.
Please, Mayor Cole.
Mr. Leach, were the construction documents amended to the way that we had discussed at workshop?
They were.
Okay.
There you go. Any other questions or comments?
So do we go to the 11 inches or 12 inches?
11 inches.
11 inches.
There was some concern about too much whenever at the workshop, because I brought up going to 12 inches, and rather than move a problem somewhere else, I said just keep it to 11 then.
So then my next question is this going to be done prior to this phase getting finished, or what's the timing for getting this proposed work done on the pond?
Mr. Enoch, please.
They'll be done prior to any building permits or plat recorded. His plan is to start on this probably next spring, but the pond modifications will be done during the construction. So before any houses are built, the pond modification will be complete and approved by the city engineer.
Mr. Leach, you're okay with handling that in-house, to get the pond done first?
Yeah, we schedule the inspections, so typically what we'll do is we'll hold the inspections so that even if they were to get a permit, they wouldn't be able to actually move forward on any construction until everything was done to our satisfaction.
So in your opinion then, so when the pond modification gets finished, you're satisfied that the residents and citizens won't have the flooding issue that they presently have, or we presently have?
You're asking me to take credit for what someone else designed. I do not typically do that. I will say that based on the calculations provided by Mr. Steele and his firm, that's what it appears to be.
Chairman?
Thank you. Cole?
Any other questions?
Mr. Rutledge?
Can you describe to me what you're actually going to do to the pond? I mean, are you just dredging it out and then that's it? Or are you reinforcing the sides so that it doesn't recollapse back down and go back to the same problem we have? Or just describe to me what that entails, please.
Sure. The south, or it's really, I guess, the west side of the pond, which is the lower part of the page, we're gonna excavate out and create more volume. The volume is not there as designed. And then the outlet structure today, the top of the outlet structure, we're gonna lower 11 inches. And that's really what's gonna keep the stormwater from surcharge in that intersection with Benjamin Franklin and Patriot. Today, what happens is the pond builds up and the inlet surcharge about 6 inches and runs down the road. This will lower that elevation, and it sends a little more water through Martin's Bend. We're sending in the 50-year storm, 47 CFS through Martin's Bend with the new calculations before it was 30-something. So we're sending a little more water through Martin's Bend, but the pipe under Martin's Bend Road is designed to handle that. someone mentioned last week or at the workshop about Lot 5 of Martin's Bend. I looked at stream stats. Rock Springs Branch behind Lot 5 in Martin's Bend has 930 acres draining to it. We've got about 45. We're less than 5% of the drainage area. So we're not affecting anything in Martin's Bend. But what's happening today is that intersection of Patriot and Benjamin Franklin is surcharging. And by lowering that structure and creating the volume, that'll keep that from happening. And we're gonna modify that structure sooner rather than later. That's a simple thing. It's to take a concrete saw and cut the top of it off. And they're gonna do that fairly soon, which will make a huge difference in the water in that intersection.
And so we're not overwhelming Martin's Bend by doing what we're doing now.
No,
correct?
so that pipe under Martin's Bend, I looked back through the calculations for that. It was designed to handle 55 CFS in the 50-year storm, and we're sending 47.
So I understand the pipe being able to hold it, but can the subdivision hold it, I guess is my question.
Well,
And that's not your problem, is that?
well, I mean, we're 5% of what's coming behind Lot 5.
I understand.
And we're 5% of the drainage area, 4% of the flow. So we're not contributing to what, if there's flooding at Lot 5 Martin's Bend, we're not really contributing to that.
And so what are you gonna do to keep the pond from collapsing back in to cause the same problem?
They're gonna stabilize it with matting. It's not just seed and straw, the erosion matting that's stapled down with seed in it and growing grass back. So they're gonna stabilize that pond to keep it from, and I don't know that it's really some of the silt that's really come from other areas where we're cutting out. But if we go back behind some of the lots, we'll be affecting the lots, and we're staying away from the lots where we're doing our excavation. So we'll be stabilizing that slope, keep it from eroding.
Mr.
No other
Rivers?
questions?
Any other questions?
I have probably more than a comment than a question. I sat here at the last
please.
meeting a little quietly and listened to everyone, and I see this as being a reoccurring issue. I mean, Pinnacle Point is having their issues. I've lived in Woodsong 17 years. We had no issues there until other neighborhoods were built, just like the Vineyards had no issues until our neighborhood was built. An extra drainage pond was even added to Woodsong that wasn't even required because of flooding. Now, our ponds are flooding because of Portico. All their straw and everything is coming down. I'm facing $10,000–$15,000 in water remediation to keep water out from under my house, like multiple other neighbors in my area. So the minimum that we're requiring people to do is not working. I mean, this is a serious problem that we have to address in some way. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I have the answers, but, to just continue to do what we're doing and let the citizens fit the bill, to me, is just not very fair.
Very fair statement, ma'am. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? With that, we will entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve with the construction documents as discussed at the workshop.
A motion to approve with all construction documents included. Have a second?
Does that include it being done before? I think I missed that part.
Yes, ma'am. That's actually a note. Correct,
There's
Mr.
a note on the
Gerald?
plans, yes, they'll be completed prior to any houses being built.
Is there a reason why it can't be done sooner so that more of this doesn't happen between now and when you get your permit?
It'll be done with the construction. At the top of the structure, we're gonna cut down sooner rather than later, and that's gonna make a big difference.
We do have a motion on the floor. Taking a second. With no second, I will,
Okay, so I'm going to make a second for discussion.
yes, sir.
I
Discussion.
just want to qualify this, so let's get this in the motion if we can. I want to make sure that this is done prior to this other final Pinnacle Phase 5 gets really even started. So my question and my request to you is, do you have a problem with doing the pond first, getting it done to the engineer's satisfaction, so these citizens don't have these issues and we can move forward from there?
Name and address, please, sir.
Scott Butler, Smyrna. You're asking to do it prior to construction.
Correct, sir. I
So
mean, you know,
prior to building permits isn't acceptable?
I want to get it done first.
You want it done
However
first?
you want to handle it. Mr. Butler, we've seen you many times on this whole project through the years that I've been on this planning commission. I've seen the residents and seen the flooding myself. All I'm asking you is to be reasonable, and let's get this thing squared away so these citizens don't have these issues in the spring. And I know it costs money, but I would like to see it done prior to this getting going. I know it's a request, but I'm asking you to answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't see any problem with that, yeah. We could do it. So you're wanting us to do it before we start construction, on any roads or
Correct.
anything
Before we
like
start
that?
anything on final plat, phase 5, Pinnacle Point, get it done prior to that, get that finished, get that pond done so we don't have this issue. When spring comes around, you start, doing your construction.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Mr. Leach, can you handle that situation?
Okay.
Very good, so we do this correctly, so Mr. Cope, do we remove the original motion?
Right, well, since the mayor made the motion, there's a second, then the motion needs to be withdrawn, the second withdrawn, then the floor is open at that point for a new motion.
We never had a second, I do
Or
not.
did we not? I thought Mr.
Well, I second it, so as a second, I'm going to withdraw the original second.
Very good.
And I will withdraw my motion, make a new motion to approve with the understanding and agreement from the developer that the pond is addressed before any aspect of 5 is done or begun.
Very good. We have a motion, as the mayor stated. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All in favor say no.
No.
I'm gonna do a roll call. Don't mind, I'm confusing. So Mr. Rutledge,
No.
Mr. Holliday,
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor Cole,
Aye.
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 motion passes.
Thank you, everyone.
To our next item. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Item number 2, subdivision acceptance, Cottages of Lake Forest Phase 7, property located off Holland Ridge Drive, requested by Womble and Associates, R3 High Density Residential Zoning District. Mr. Logan.
This is a request for subdivision acceptance at the Cottages of Lake Forest, Phase 7. And this property is zoned R3, high-density residential. And you can see on the screen the ortho that shows the area that we're talking about. So a closer look here, it's outlined there in blue. And this is just off of Holland Ridge Drive. If you're heading north, it'd be on the right side of Holland Ridge Drive. And here's the zoning map. So this darker green color is R3. And you can see, again, the blue outline of the subject property. And it's quite a wide mix of zoning in this part of the city. So this has been on the agenda for several months, or a few months, rather. And there has been a punch list that's been being prepared during that time. So it's the same comment that it's been for a few months. So I don't know if Mr. Leach wants to expound, but I'll pass it on to him. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Leach, how's that punch list coming along?
Well, they haven't started yet, so not good.
Well, okay. Well, at this point, I guess has there been a request for deferral or anything of that nature?
Well, it's a non-paid for item, so they're not paying to submit it. The board can defer it for another month if they so choose. They could, if you so chose, you could vote it up or down. However, they can just come back whenever they're ready, and if you want to just vote no on it for right now, we can basically take it off the agenda till they're ready. That's an option. I'm not telling you either way to vote.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
We've had this for several months, and I think we've got a lot on the agenda, so my recommendation is let's vote to take it up, or vote to remove it from the agenda.
Very good. Any
And I'll make a motion to deny this acceptance.
I'll second.
We have a motion to deny by Mr. Holliday, second by Mr. Rutledge.
Discussion.
Discussion, Mayor Cole.
Mr. Cope, if we give a recommendation up or down, that still goes to BOMA for acceptance, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Ultimately, the city council has to make that decision.
Okay, so, it
I
would,
think we're in another situation where we may need to discuss this for a second, Mayor. We may need to discuss this for a second, Mayor.
yes, because if we, as Mr. Cope just confirmed, whether we voted up or down, that would then push it on to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen to vote on versus deferral, which we can always defer it out even for not just month to month, but defer it out, for the next couple months or till it's resolved.
And I do not mind reading it.
Are they here by chance?
No, this is just a punch list situation, so
Okay.
nothing being done.
Are they communicating with us? It seems like they're wasting a lot of our time.
There's,
The home builder is different from the developer. The home builder is very interested in getting this subdivision accepted so they can finish the final lots in it. The developer, we met with him 2 or 3 months ago, gave him the punch list, said he'd get his contractor on it, and that was the last we heard from him.
with that discussion, so I guess we'll go back to Mr. Cope, if you don't mind, sir. So if we voted up or down, it goes to mayor and alderman, and they voted up or down, does the applicant have the opportunity to come back to planning after that?
Well, if it's not accepted, then yes, he would have the ability to come back and complete whatever items remain to be completed, whatever other conditions need to be completed, he would still have to do that, because at some point, the subdivision would need to be accepted once it's completed.
Very good, thank you, sir. Any other discussion? So with that, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed?
Was this to give it a favorable
Favorable or
recommendation
unfavorable?
or an unfavorable
Ah, see?
recommendation?
The motion was wrong to,
You said unfavorable.
Your motion, right, Mr. Holliday?
My motion was to deny the acceptance.
our obligation is to give a favorable or unfavorable recommendation and acceptance, correct?
Correct.
Would that need to be a new motion, or,
So let's consider removing the second, Mr. Rutledge,
I'll remove my second.
and removing the first, Mr. Holliday, and making a new motion.
I will modify my motion to an unfavorable recommendation for item 2 on the agenda.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for an unfavorable recommendation on item number 2. Once again, roll call. Mr. Rutledge,
Aye.
Mr. Holliday,
Aye.
ma'am?
Aye.
Aye.
aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, everyone. And our apologies for confusion. I'm sure everybody's having a long week this week with the power going off and everything. So we'll get it together here in just a minute. And I think now's the time. So item number 3, site plan, Del Taco, new building of 5,587 square feet on 0.879 acres, requested by HFR. Property located at 5022 Murfreesboro Road, tax map 15, parcel 1704, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District. Property owned by NFA Investments, Inc. Mr. Logan, let's get some energy going here.
Thank you. This is at the corner, site plan requested, approval requested at the corner of Murfreesboro Road and Walden Road. This address is 5022 Murfreesboro Road. So we're talking about where the red dot is here, which right now is just a sea of concrete when you drive by. Here's a closer look. This is a former gas station from a while ago, and this applicant has decided to demolish this building that's standing there today and to build a new structure with gas pumps. It is a gas station, by the way, although it's named Del Taco. Here's a zoning map. So again, the corner, and this is red, which signifies C2. So commercial zoning allows this type of establishment. So there's no issue there with the zoning. Let me go forward to the photos. So this is what it looks like today. There's some concrete barriers. This is looking west toward I-24. That's Parthenon in the distance. And then this is just the existing former gas station and convenience store. A different photo here is looking a little bit more northwest. So this is Walgreens on the other corner. And then this traffic here is queued up on Waldron Road for the light at Murfreesboro Road. So again, a lot of concrete there today, and they will be demolishing this building. So moving ahead to the site plan. So this is the site plan that was submitted at first, so I've kept it in the PowerPoint. And if we need it, we can go back to it. So you'll notice on the new one they submitted, there's some changes, although very minor. One of them here's this apron at Murfreesboro Road, which was not on the original site plan. So this is the store, convenience and retail store. It is 5,587 is the square footage that's proposed. And they are aware that they have to be fire sprinkled, so that's been discussed from day one. This is the gas canopy here on the site plan with the proposed gas pumps. They are proposing a total of 16 vehicles can be fueled at one time. So the parking there is next to the store and then wraps around the store, and then here at the rear is the dumpster enclosure for the trash, and you'll see on the architectural elevations it is actually incorporated into the dumpster enclosure is the same material as the exterior wall, so it's incorporated into that wall. I'll let Mr. Leach speak about detention later, but so let's go to the architectural elevations. So this is the front of the proposed retail store, and they are proposing to use brick on the outside along with stone and some aluminum composite for the trim. They are also proposing ample landscaping, as you can see in the plans that were submitted. And again, the side elevation is more brick. It's being proposed. And then this is the rear of the building, and then the other side elevation, and then a perspective of the entire building there at the bottom that was submitted on their architectural plans. They have taken care of most of the planning comments, and it's my understanding that based on discussions from last month and at the workshop, that the former tanks that are buried at this site have already been removed. You'll remember that discussion from 2 weeks ago at the workshop. That completes the report for the planning side, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Leach. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Leach?
All my comments have been addressed for this site.
Very good, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Mayor Cole?
Need the applicant.
Oh, will the applicant please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record?
Jim Gillum, HFR Design, 214 Centerview Drive, Brentwood, Tennessee.
Thank you, sir.
So, first off, I know this was a lot of discussion at the workshop. Can you walk us through what changes you made with the landscaping plan, specific to the adjoining property?
Right, so it was requested to add some shrubs along both the property line there between the Parthenon and I think still a fireworks stand on the Murfreesboro Road side. So we added a staggered row of evergreen shrubs, really from building to right of way.
Okay. And there's, with the landscape on the exit portion as you're coming onto Murfreesboro Road, that landscaping won't restrict views for anyone trying to pull out?
No, sir. In fact, there was already some landscaping right there at the entranceway, and of course, staying off the state right of way there, we are not getting into any kind of site visibility issue there.
Okay. And how quickly, if this is approved, will there be construction work starting on this property? I know in the past we've had several that it's gone months or even up to a year. So, what is y'all's timetable for starting construction?
I honestly have not talked to the owner. I know he, the project, when we first started talking about this was actually back probably July of 2020. And of course, COVID, he was actually overseas and got called overseas and wasn't able to get back. So it was already delayed longer than he had originally anticipated. So pure speculation on my part, I'll say that, but I do think he wants to get started and get going with it.
Okay.
And I'll be glad to talk to him, talk to the architect, find out and update the board from that standpoint if you wish. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't, so, Will Jenner, architect, I'm sorry.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Will Jenner, 2610 Westwood Drive, Nashville, Tennessee. He's ready to get going right away. So as soon as we get everything approved, we'll submit for permits with the construction drawings, and he's ready to go. So he's good to go. So.
Very good.
I have one question. The back of the building that'll be facing, I guess that's Parthenon Metals, well, used to be Parthenon Metals. I think on one of them, it doesn't show anything back there. It's like, as far as like a sidewalk or something of that nature. Is there a walkway on the back side of that building? So if they're going to, like right there.
It's that one.
Yeah, that one. So that looks like it's just going straight to the property line. Is there a walkway that those doors come out to, that they walk like over to the dumpster area? Or are they gonna be going straight out into grass?
So we do have a sidewalk that connects on the, I guess, the western side, northwestern side there only. The one in the middle part of the store is only a concrete stoop.
Okay, so they will be going out into grass then? Is that what you're telling me?
Only from the concrete stoop, and Will, I don't know if you want to speak to that as far as egress, but from a user standpoint, I mean, we anticipated, trash refuse would be going straight from the westernmost door, northwestern, into the door which gets into the trash container.
I was just looking for appeal, so when somebody's driving down Walden Road, if they're using that grass a lot, then what are they gonna do? They're gonna walk a path in it, and then that's what you're gonna see coming down the road on the backside of that building, is nothing but a walkway of chopped down grass. Does that make sense?
No, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, the plan is that middle door really won't be used. The top left door is behind the kitchen area. So that's where most of their deliveries and everything will be going, to the dumpster and out through the kitchen. That's the dish area back
So I guess northwestern door you're talking about, if they're at the very corner of the building, it will have access to that pad where they're not having to walk into a bunch of grass and like.
Yeah, you come out right there.
Okay.
That's all connected with concrete there.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Yes, mine's for Mr.
Goetz?
Logan. Mr. Logan, did you check the signage package? Is everything meeting our requirements? So sheet A425, do we ensure that everything is correct?
Well, typically the signage is a separate approval for the city. It's not part of the site plan. So I don't check signage at this level, because BOZA takes care of that. So maybe that should be an internal discussion about how we're gonna approach signs. So the short answer is no, because it's not typically been, the city has a separate approval process through Mr. Randolph's office where they permit signs. So when they submit the sign permit to Mr. Salyers, if I need to be involved, I do. And if they're oversized, then I bring them back to you all at BOZA.
Okay.
Because the city ordinance is designed for BOZA to handle that. So that's the long answer.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Mr. Holliday?
So with the explanation that the architect has given, do you anticipate receiving product through that kitchen door?
Receiving, you mean just like,
Receiving deliveries?
I believe they just come through the front door. From what I was told, they come after hours, like early in the morning or late at night. But I'm not exactly sure on the timetable on deliveries.
I mean, I see the connection, for trash to go out that door, but if we're gonna receive deliveries there, I feel like that sidewalk should extend to the asphalt surface or concrete surface or whatever beyond the dumpster. I didn't have a problem with it until the explanation, but.
I wouldn't have a problem extending that, you know, just to have a little bit more accessibility there.
That would require a deferral and another workshop, because we generally don't do contingent on, it needs to be documented, a workshop.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
My apologies, I was mumbling. We normally don't do contingencies, so the normal process that we use is a deferral, it comes back with the changes.
You know, I always agree with that, and yet, you know, earlier this evening, documents that we don't have on item 1 were referenced, and, you know, we took action there on things that we don't even have. But I understand exactly what you're saying, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. You have the opportunity to make a motion and include it. I'm just one person on the board. Any other questions or comments from the board? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, with the sidewalk added on the rear. Is that what you're saying we can do? Is that what
You're welcome to make a motion.
yes, from the delivery door, or from that second door over to the trash, having the sidewalk added to my motion.
I'll second that.
We have a motion to accept as submitted with the addition of the extension of the rear sidewalk, is that correct?
That is correct.
Chairman, just like to end with a second. The history of having no exceptions is previously through the years, things have got through that were for different reasons, and then all of a sudden you will go back at a later date and say that's not put in there, the sidewalk was not put in, why not? You'll ask a whole bunch of questions, and it's got the city in trouble legally lots of times before, and that's why the issue comes up, and that's why I'm big on it too. We should have caught this at workshop, certainly, if that's what we wanted to do. But if we start doing it now, you're going to have some other issues as other projects come through, and people are going to ask you at a later date, why didn't it go in? You say, well, I said to put it in, but it got missed. It's going to get into lots of problems and legal issues for the city. So I would just adhere that I'm not a fan of doing this way.
Very, we should have called discussion, but motion on the floor is a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
I think our city attorney was leaning forward to say something.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt the vote, and the board's certainly entitled to vote any way that it wants to. I do want to take a moment, to the extent it helps with context, to kind of piggyback on what Commissioner Coates said with respect to the site plan approval, and I want to address what Commissioner Holliday pointed out, which is there's a distinction with respect to the way the final plat process was treated on item number 1 versus a contingency here, and what the difference would be. The fundamental difference is on the final plat, the city doesn't have any legal authority to require the applicant in that case to time the sequence of the development so that the detention pond goes first and then the rest of the construction takes place. That's not within the power of the Planning Commission to require. So the only way to get that would be to have the applicant agree or concede that they would make that concession and agree to do that. That's the difference. That's on the final plat. On the site plan, the city has the authority to require anything that it wants to within the scope of the regs with respect to this. And it's always cleaner and better, in my opinion, for the reasons that Commissioner Coates said, that if it doesn't look the way you want it to, it's always better to ask either to defer it or to deny it and have it come back and have what you ultimately approve have the actual specifications on it. That's more than what you wanted to know, but I hope it helps.
Thank you. So without observing the vote at this point, how should I proceed, sir?
Well, we were in the middle of a vote. I think you could, at this point, I mean, the vote has to take place, and I think that Mr. Rutledge, if he wants to withdraw his motion, he can if the second's withdrawn. If not, the vote needs to take place, and you'll need to take a roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So I'll put the option on the table to our two commissioners.
to the applicant, do you understand what we're going through here? It's just procedural. I don't think anyone's disagreeing with what you've produced. It's just procedural for us that if this was to move forward, that it puts an onus on us and some liability on us at a later date. So what I would request is just to defer. I know it's another month for you guys, but it's a month to come back to workshop and get this put through and go through correctly, and there's no issues for you at a later date. Just a question for you both.
I don't know that at this point the applicant can request.
I understand that, but I'm just laying it out to what's going on.
Thank you. So, at this moment, Mr. Holliday, Mr. Rutledge, if you would consider or would like to withdraw your motion, otherwise I will proceed with the vote and call a roll call vote.
I'll withdraw my motion.
And you made the original motion?
I would like to make another motion for a deferral for the applicant
And
on the
Mr.
base of the planning commission.
Holliday as well?
Out of respect for my fellow planning commissioners, I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you, sir.
I'll second his motion for
Can I ask
deferral.
a quick question before the motions move forward?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Discussion, please.
If this were to be approved as is, could BOMA ask for that change so that we're not inconveniencing
It
the
will.
applicants?
This doesn't go before BOMA. This is not a
This is us.
rezoning or a subdivision acceptance, so this
It's
stays
strictly
with planning commission only.
with us. Okay.
So I have a motion for deferral and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. We'll see y'all at workshop next month, gentlemen. Item number 5, site plan Lot 8, Lanham Park, building addition of 2,575 square feet on 0.96 acres, requested by Huddleston Steel, property located at 111 Jordan Drive, tax map 15N, Group A, Parcel 5, and I just see the deferral here, so this item is deferred. We will be,
You do number 4?
on item number 4 is deferred as well.
Okay.
So item number 4 and 5 are deferred. We'll be moving on to item number 6, which I had marked and ready to go. So site plan, advanced care medical, new building of 3,550 square feet on 1.1 acres, requested by Cesso Inc., property located at 5181 Murfreesboro Road, tax map 15, parcel 2.02, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by Sealy Wallace Investments LLC. Mr. Logan.
Thanks. This is a site plan request for approval for an urgent care facility that would be located at 5181 Murfreesboro Road. And this is just a couple lots up from the stormwater and planning offices, so not far from here. Currently, the property is vacant, and looking at the ortho, it's there where the red dot is. I mentioned 2 weeks ago, it's one of the few vacant lots left on Murfreesboro Road, and somehow in the same meeting, we've got plans for both of them. The other one being across from the planning and stormwater building, which will be later on the agenda. So the large building here that's kind of stair-stepped in the back, at least from space, it's stair-stepped, is the Planet Fitness, which used to be Food Line. So zooming in here, again, you can see the vacant property, and this is the mobile gas station to the south and east. I think it's still mobile, unless it's been, well, my wife needs to call during the meeting. Anyway, so the mobile, they're all getting bought out, and 7-Elevens are popping up everywhere, so I think it's still mobile, but you all know where the gas station is that's here in front of Planet Fitness. So moving on here to the zoning map, this is the property that we're talking about. I think I did as closer up. Okay. It's so small on the other zoning map, I zoomed in here. So it's just this rectangle here is where the urgent care clinic is going. And then the property around it to the sides and back is zone C4 for shopping center. That's a shopping center zoning. It's in the zoning ordinance. So moving ahead to some photos. Here's the grassy area, and you see Planet Fitness in the distance. And then this is taken internally, looking back toward Murfreesboro Road. And then this is the former Rite Aid across the street. You can see there's been some fill on the lot, maybe fill in past years. If you drive out there and look around, you'll see these areas that they almost look like very small sinkholes. I'm not sure that they are, but a lot of rock and whatnot. So yeah, there's gas station again in the distance looking, that's towards Smyrna, toward the southeast. So it's just a basic vacant lot. So this is last month's, or the original submittal from 2 weeks ago. And one of the comments was that Murfreesboro Road and other streets were not labeled. So this is the latest, and this is in your packets. So they're requiring, or this site requires 15 spaces for parking, and they are providing 15 spaces, so that's good. They're not overparked and not underparked. Let's move ahead to the elevation. So these are what was submitted by the applicant. And again, they're using a lot of brick and stone. And this building, along with the plasma center later, has a parapet at the top. So the parapet makes the building look taller, even though it's really not taller. But it just gives the visual effect of a more impressive building. So you'll see those parapets on the architectural elevations. It's a common practice with commercial developments. But anyway, this clinic is $3,550, so $3,550. So it does not have to be fire sprinklered. So that's one issue that's taken care of. And all the planning comments have been taken care of as well over the last couple of months. I don't think Mr. Leach has anything left. So we'll be happy to answer any questions. Thanks.
Very good, thank you, sir. Is there a representative here this evening for this project? Name and
folks.
address for the record, please, ma'am.
My name is Kelly Hyatt with CESO, 216 Centerview Drive, Suite 150, Brentwood, Tennessee. We did take a look at the comments, just staff comments, of course. Took a look at some of the comments y'all had last month as well. Added some landscaping on the side, or along Murfreesboro Road, including some shrub row and a tree in the bottom right corner. We added also some trees in the on the back parking side. I wasn't clear on staff comments when we looked, or planning commission comments when we looked back, about whether the trees were requested on the left side or the back side, but we didn't want to risk degrading the detention pond by putting trees too close, so we did put them in the back side. The other comment that planning commission had requested was to look at the location of the front drive. We did look at that with our traffic team and felt that in comparison to McDonald's, the trip generation for this type of clinic would be much, much lower as opposed to a restaurant. And then the other aspect they looked at was conflict points. So anybody who's turning onto that road to access our site would be able to make an immediate turn. There wouldn't be any parking or people making maneuvers or pedestrians crossing that would slow down that traffic and cause a backup. They'd be able to get all the way to the side before having to pause and adjust for traffic. So we didn't feel that it would back up onto. There may be at times at which if someone is trying to take a left out of there, that they would back up into our site while traffic was clearing onto Murfreesboro Road, but that would be an inconvenience on our site only. And we didn't feel it would happen at that much of a frequency to disrupt the circulation around the site. So hopefully that addresses planning commission concerns. I do have another issue that I'd like to bring up, and I don't know if this is appropriate. I had asked Mr. Logan about it, but our architecture team had gone into some details as they're preparing for the building permit submittal and realized that the brick product we had provided was in some weird millimeter measurement. And so we're proposing an alternative brick product. I do have samples here and elevations that looks substantially the same. It's just a standard unit brick. I don't know if I need to. This one kind of got damaged, but
Yes, ma'am.
as you can see, they're very similar in color.
And it's just the center bricks, correct?
Correct, yeah, it would just be the main bricks And I do have elevations if anybody wanted to see those. So hopefully they can get added as a matter of record.
Can you repeat the reason for that again?
The bricks that the architecture team had originally just picked are in a millimeter measurement. They were trying to meet the city's requirements and selected a product without the complete diligence on it. And when we looked into it to put it on the plans for the building permit submittal, it was a non-standard size. And so it was just gonna make brick coursing and window elevations and all things much more complicated. To preemptively answer the question, we're ready to submit planning, building permit as soon as this board approves the project, and get ready with construction as soon as that has been reviewed.
Very
Any
good. Questions, comment,
questions?
Mr. Rutledge?
Does that brick have to be put in this packet? Or is it already in this packet that's submitted?
I hadn't submitted anything yet, so I don't know if I can have copies of it, but I don't know how that works.
I don't think it is. I think it's just submitted as part of the materials board.
It's,
Mr. Leach, am I wrong with that?
examples.
I mean, personally, I can't tell the shade difference from the plan just because the plotters just aren't that good. So, I mean, we can probably tell the difference looking at the material board. Material board's been submitted. You guys know that the brick is red, and if the brick is red and that red is acceptable, I feel like you'd be okay voting on it, but that's just my general opinion.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Leach.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
An entire wall that's built metric burden brick's not going to be any different than a standard burden. It's just as she says, it messes up in your geometry of the way that the windows, doors, and whatnot are laid out. So if they laid out the building for a particular size, they laid it out for metric brick. Metric brick won't work for this one.
Very good. Mayor?
Ms. Knight, did you say you had elevations as well?
I do have, I have it printed off. I will say I had a full-size one printed, but the color looks awful. So this is much more, this is closer to the final product.
What is the difference?
Mr. Chairman, while we're looking at that, just a comment that I have for myself regarding the entranceway on the previous buildings that we did through the Planning Commission, including AutoZone. McDonald's, as she mentioned, is as we all know, is the exit for the drive-through. But if you look at the Taco Bell, we deliberately, as a planning board, moved that road as far away from Murfreesboro Road as we can, because if you have people accessing this facility and trying to get to the Planet Fitness, it's a very, very short distance and could cause a backup to a very busy junction in Laverne. So I just want to make the point of, historically and previously, we put that road as far back as we can on 3 or 4 other ventures that we have in the city, and it works very well. This one, I have some big concerns that it's going to interfere with some traffic, and that's just my general comment as an individual.
Thank you very much, sir. Ms. Saunders, do you have a comment, please?
I had a question, based on, Alderman Coates. You had said that you felt like the flow in the parking lot wouldn't be as well if you made that change?
If we move the drive to the back, there'd be pretty much a dead end to that parking lot, so then there ends up being more conflict points as opposed to people moving smoothly around. The way it is oriented now, it's more natural instead of you dead end and then have to figure out how to turn around in a.
Very, very constrained lot, when I say so.
If you, the rest of the planning board, if you look at the now Mexican restaurant, you will see their entranceway, and that's another one where we moved it further away from Murfreesboro Road, just so we don't have the issue of backing up to Stonesboro Road at that traffic light. So just another comment. If you look at the McDonald's one we did, the AutoZone second entrance is almost lined up with the McDonald's, and there's a reason for that, because it flows and functions. But it's just my comment from a historical standpoint.
With the different presentation of the
Yeah. It does.
brick and this, would they need to be submitted, Mr. Coates? Cope? My apologies.
Well, I mean, the preference of the board matters. I don't know what your preference is on that, but I don't know that it's a requirement necessarily.
So in order for these to be accepted, they would have had to have been submitted officially. Otherwise, we would be accepting the other product.
Right. I mean, it's always better to have it in before and have it filed before and before the board before. I mean, that's just the cleanest way and the best way to do it, so.
Thank you, sir. So with that being said, I would probably recommend a deferral till next month so that we can do it all officially and correctly.
Understood.
And that way, everything is dotted and crossed, and we have no problems. And there's obviously some discussion in regards to the entrances on the project. So if you would like to request a deferral, otherwise I can make a motion for deferral. And the
What are-
mayor is hinting that I possibly need to make a motion for deferral.
I'll make the motion for deferral because to request the deferral, they have to before a certain
Correct.
date with Mr. Logan. So after that, it's supposed to come through the board.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
So I have a motion for deferral and a second discussion. Mr. Logan?
I just want to make sure that there's a solution to this driveway issue.
We'll talk about it at workshop, so we'll have that opportunity to.
Okay, because I know sometimes these things leave and it's,
We
there's
almost,
some expectation that the staff just has a magic answer, so I just want to make sure that,
Mr. Logan, if you can make it work for everybody, I mean,
that'd be fantastic. wouldn't it?
wonderful.
Okay.
if we could make
That may be
everything
something
work,
for a workshop to discuss.
we wouldn't be necessary. So, there you go. So we have a motion on the floor, a first and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We will see you at workshop next month, ma'am.
Thank you for your time. Do you want me to leave this board?
If it's the new board, yeah, you can leave it.
Yes.
That's fine, thanks.
Thank you.
Next item. Item number 7, site plan, KED Plasma, new building of 11,000 square feet on approximately 1.3 acres, requested by Brit Peters and Associates, Inc., property located at 5176 Murfreesboro Road, tax map 15M, group B, that is a B, correct? B, parcel 9.02, C2 Highway Service Commercial Zoning District, property owned by Pappy Van Winkle LLC. Mr. Logan.
This is a request for site plan approval for KED Plasma. This site is on Murfreesboro Road as well, and just across the street from the planning and stormwater building. This building proposed is supposed to be 11,097 square feet, so it's quite a bit larger than the last item on the agenda. Moving here to the ortho, so this is the other vacant lot, and this building here is the stormwater and planning and codes building, and then the Mexican restaurant. And then this lot is the last item, which would be advanced care medical. So, yeah, this is on the southwest side of Murfreesboro Road, and the acreage is 1.83 on this site. And zooming in for a closer look, you can see the neighboring property. So this is the former Rite Aid to the right in the photo. And then some of this is Pool and Spa Depot to the south. And then, of course, there's the city has a fire hall there off of Stones River Road. Of course, currently this property is vacant, and they are proposing a one-story building, which would be KED Plasma. The zoning map shows that everything on this side of Murfreesboro Road all the way to the railroad track is zoned commercial already, which is C2. And here's some photos of the property. And this, again, is a Rite Aid in the distance, the former Rite Aid. You can see on Murfreesboro Road here, there's quite a wide shoulder already in place there. This is another view of the former Rite Aid, and as well as the building beside the Rite Aid, which I believe is a pawn shop, and then the fire hall would be the next property down. This lot is very flat already, so prime for development. In the distance here would be the railroad track Pool and Spa Depot, and then the railroad on the other side of Pool and Spa Depot. And this is last month's, or 2 weeks ago's submittal, so I've kept that and kept the elevations from 2 weeks ago. So this is the resubmittal site plan. One thing you probably noticed is they changed their elevations since the workshop, although the building layout on the site has not changed tremendously. There is parking, as there was 2 weeks ago, parking in the front, parking in the rear. This red dot here is the dumpster enclosure there, where they're proposing to have that. These are the new elevations that were submitted, north, south, east, and west, so we'll break those down. So this is the east elevation, north and east, and the north elevation is what they've also labeled as the street elevation. So this will be the view from Murfreesboro Road is the north elevation. This blue canopy-like structure has been added since 2 weeks ago. So there's the front view. Then here's your side. This is the side facing Smyrna, so it'll be the southeast side of the building. They're calling it east, but this building, as everything is on Murfreesboro Road, is skewed away from true north since Murfreesboro Road does not run north and south. Here's the other two elevations, west and south. So this is the rear. Again, you can see the parapet on left and right that they've designed for this building. Then this is the other side elevation, so it'd be west here, but it's actually northwest or the Nashville side of the building. And they too are proposing almost exclusively brick, and that's not a change either from 2 weeks ago. There's all the planning comments have been addressed. They are, one thing I didn't mention, they're proposing 69 parking spaces where 44 are required, so they have ample parking for sure. And there's a couple comments from Mr. Leach, so I'll turn it over to him. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Mr. Leach, please, sir.
So a minor technical comment, it's missing an initial and final erosion control plan. There was an erosion control plan where they combined the two, but those are separate items typically. And additionally, you all may note that the plans have not been stamped by an engineer.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Leach. Is there a representative here this evening for this project? Good evening. If you would state your name and address for the record, please.
Travis Hawthorne, Brit Peters and Associates, Greenville, South Carolina.
Thank you, sir.
Scott Stow, Stow Development Corporation, 1128 Main Street, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Thank you very much. So we will address the first two items are fairly simple, but they are technical items at this moment that need to be addressed by Mr. Leach. And I'll go ahead and start off with the addition of the canopies. Have we been provided with any material or anything of that nature that was submitted at workshop, or has that changed since?
So the canopy material will not change at all. In picking up one of the Planning Commission's comments to move the entrance to the front of the building, we expanded the size of the canopy, made it a more impressive entrance, added more glass than we typically do, and wrapped the canopy around the building so that it would pick up multiple doors, one on the Murfreesboro facing side and one on the Smyrna facing side.
Thank you. So that addresses my question. Any other questions or comments from the board? Alderman Coates?
On the workshop document you supplied to us, you'd indicated a potential underground and storm detention area. What's transpired there? What's changed? On the ones just submitted that is unsigned, unstamped, there's no definition of what's going on there.
Nothing has changed. The underground storage is there.
Can you repeat that, sir?
Nothing has changed. The underground storage is still there.
The underground water retention is still in the same place?
So my question would be, instead of having potential underground stormwater detention, would it be listed as underground stormwater detention? Would that not be the norm? I mean, just...
Is that for Mr. Leach or for the applicant? Alderman Coates?
I mean, I'm just looking at the one they supplied the workshop, which is C30. It's changed a couple of times, and I just want to make sure that we handle it appropriately. I mean, I'm sure it is, but it's just technicalities that catch us, you know?
On the updated site plan, there's a keynote number 8, and it's located where the underground storage detention is located. It says proposed underground detention.
But at this stage of the game, when you're seeking approval, shouldn't this be the underground chamber and not proposed? It either is or isn't.
It's proposed.
But before construction is proposed, so the building's also proposed. It's just fairly standard architectural and engineering language.
Okay, then my other question is then, on your previously plan, we had the entranceway facing towards Smyrna, Murfreesboro. You had a double door, and now on this new one, you've gone to 2 single doors. Is there a reason for that?
I'll refer it to our architect, Scott King.
Name and address for the record, please, sir.
Scott King, 10805 Indeco Road, Cincinnati, Ohio.
Thank you.
In answer to the question about the doors, this building is actually a prototypical building, and there's a very specific path that the customers go through. The 2 doors have always been there. It's just that the double doors in the previous plan were the entrance doors, and there's always a specific exit door. So when we redesigned and moved the entrance from around the corner and redesigned the waiting area and redesigned the bathrooms, we went to a single door for the entrance, and we got more glass, which is what was requested. I mean, I don't know why it would matter.
No, it was just a question, sir. It was just trying to, if there was a simple reason, I'm just here to listen.
So basically in redesigning the interior floor plan to pick up the comment to move the entrance facing Murfreesboro, we had to move some rooms around on our interior layout, and that's a big reason why now it's a single door.
Okay, so that leads to my second question. You moved the doors towards the Smyrna Murfreesboro end, but your ADA parking is the opposite end. Is there a reason for that as well? Historically, we like to have the ADA adjacent to the doors.
Yes, so if we were to put the ADA spaces in front of the door, then we would have to have the ramp. So the ADA ramp would be lowered 6 inches, therefore lowering the finished floor elevation of the building, which we couldn't lower the site anymore. We wouldn't have the depth to put the underground storage in because we're constrained by the tie-in location for the existing storm drainage system in Murfreesboro Road. And so lowering the site 6 inches would not allow it to work.
Okay, so that makes sense. But then my question is, interior-wise, you can move walls. Why don't you move the 2 access doors towards the ADA?
Based on the layout and the FDA requirements for donor exits, so on and so forth, this is as best as we could get to trying to move it. I mean, in an ideal world, a situation like this, you'd have, an entrance centered. Sometimes interior layouts don't allow for exterior elements of the building to be moved around as much as this one has, given the constraints of the public utility easements that run through the middle of the site.
And then to the comment of the staff has, I've never seen a drawing come before that's not been stamped by the engineer. Obviously we don't have it, and that's an issue for me, but is there a physical reason why it wasn't stamped?
Yeah, we had a lot of comments to pick up from you all, a lot of coordination with Travis he's based out of South Carolina, we're based out of Cincinnati, and in an effort to get the plan submitted, we had a local print shop down here print everything out for the meeting here tonight.
But you can understand our concern of it not being stamped. You can understand that not having an engineer stamp is an issue for this board?
I have my engineer here. I'm not sure if you have your stamp or...
No, I don't have the stamp, but typically, in a site plan approval, these are not construction documents. So we would submit a construction document set, and that set would be stamped. But these are not construction, this is not a construction document set.
I understand that from our standpoint, though, the site plan for us for our procedure, this is the last time we get to look at this document.
If I may
Okay.
interject for a second, that is a requirement stamped by the engineer. Thank you, Mr. Leach. So one of our requirements is for it to be stamped at submittal. Continue, Mr. Coates, please.
That's what I have. I mean, again, it's a group that's not used to working with this board. We're just trying to keep everyone consistent. You've heard the rest of the other applicants this evening. We try to be consistent, and that's something I think that this board, needs to request and should request that the stamp be put on the drawing.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr.
Questions, comments? Thank you. Anyone else? Questions or comments?
I have a comment. Thank you for moving it. Thank you for readjusting the building. I think it looks much better than what you originally posted or what you originally submitted, so thank you.
Absolutely, we're happy to accommodate the planning commission, and we hope to be an asset to the community and finish out these couple of last vacant lots there on Murfreesboro Road.
With that, I'll make a motion to defer this until next meeting so that these technical items can be fixed.
Thank you. We have a motion by Mr. Rutledge to defer due to the technical items, seconded by Mayor Cola. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Is there any discussion?
No one called it, sir. We need to either call discussion or apparently that's the best way to do it. If you'll call discussion, I will more than happily stop and allow discussion. So, motion passes. We'll defer this item and we'll see you at workshop next month.
We'll expect us back at the workshop, and then, okay.
Yes, sir.
Understood. Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you all. Our final item, site plan, Dick Buchanan Trailer Storage. Trailer storage on 15.47 acres requested by SEC. Property located on Dick Buchanan Street, tax map 14, parcel 50, I-2 Heavy Industrial Zoning District. Property owned by C. S.J. and Associates LLC. Mr. Logan.
And this is a proposal for trailer parking on Dick Buchanan, 15.47 acres. You can see the property here on the screen. This is formerly zoned industrial special district, and I went over this in detail 2 weeks ago at the workshop, but basically in a nutshell, it was supposed to be a pallet manufacturing and a pallet recycling center. McVantage Packaging in 2017 out of Muscle Shoals, Alabama, had bought the property, and they got it rezoned to I-3. It was one of the first projects I worked on when I got here. So the way I-3 works in our zoning ordinance is it's for that exact specific use only. So when they decided to go another route and consolidate all of their production into the Muscle Shoals plant, they decided not to do anything in Laverne, which left it I-3, which meant it was basically unusable. So they did have an engineer come in about 18 months ago, give or take, and get it rezoned back to I-2 from I-3. So it's zoned I-2 tonight, and I'll show you that on the zoning map. So this dark navy blue color is the I-3 special, I-2, which was formerly the I-3 special industrial district. And by the way, the light blue is all I-1, so it's about the only I-2 piece out there. You'll remember from a couple weeks ago that this property has basically been cleared. This is the Kite Home Improvement and Carter Lumber site, by the way, to the south is this large area. So again, this is on the east side of Dick Buchanan Street. Here's some photos of the property, and you can see it's basically flat and just a few small trees left, but it's not forested like some of the neighboring property. Hadn't been a lot of improvement to the property. As you can see, it's just kind of in its natural state. So this is the master plan that was submitted. It's in your packets, and it shows all the spaces. They're proposing a total of, I think it's 470, give or take. So zooming in, there you can see the arrangement and the aisles for the parking that they're proposing for the parking spaces. So this is the western side of the parking lot they're proposing. So the next slide is then the eastern side. So you see detention pond 2 is proposed here along the south border, and then detention pond number 1 is along Dick Buchanan at the west end of the project. So there's no building proposed at this time. You probably remember that from 2 weeks ago. They're only proposing trailer parking and storage at this time. And I know there was a long discussion 2 weeks ago about lighting. So they have addressed those issues with lighting and safety. Of course, there's no architectural elevation since there's no structures being proposed. And this is not in any overlay district as well. So technical items, there are none left. They've all been addressed by staff. So happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Is there a representative here for this project? If you would state your name and address for the record.
Zach Woolpart with Site Engineering Consultants, 850 Middle Tennessee Boulevard.
Thank you very much.
Joe Delemus of North Star, 782 Melrose Avenue, Nashville.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from the board? I will start. Did we get the internal fire protection added? What was it?
Bears. So that's a board request. There's not a requirement for it because there's no structure to protect. So that's why it was not a technical comment. So that's why staff have not addressed it. But I don't believe they added anything for.
So we have added 2 fire hydrants.
Oh, they did. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I thought I saw 2 in here, right?
Yes.
One at-
Yes.
one at-
You did add. Okay.
And I did give those to the fire marshal for him to look at, and he said that those seem to be acceptable.
Very good.
Good man.
Yeah, we placed those on either end of that double aisle of parking.
I would be more than understanding with the structure comment, but
Yeah.
with being semi-trucks,
Yeah.
thank you for adding those. And I think we really only requested 1, so thank you for 2. And any other questions or comments?
So, we discussed this at the workshop. What, if any, measures are being taken to prevent a right-hand turn out of the facility towards Sand Hill?
So we did add a no right turn sign there, if you look on page C 2.0. So to try to discourage them from turning right towards that. I'm very familiar with that intersection, and I know you don't want any trucks going down that way. But I don't know that there's any way to put a physical barrier there without causing some other impedance to their travel down that entry.
Okay, and then the entrance is wide enough for trucks to pull out and basically not go off the road there or anything?
Yes, yeah, we have it 48 feet, and 12 feet is like a standard drive aisle on like the interstate. So it's basically 4 lane widths wide there, and it has a 50-foot turn radius sweep on both sides, which should be more than enough for truck to
So you're
get
saying
in.
they don't have to go into oncoming traffic when they pull out of that?
Yeah.
And then
Well, they wouldn't have to anyways, going the other way.
And with the parking, is it like a transfer station where you're gonna have like, not a tractor trailer, but like one of the mini ones that hook up to a trailer and transport it to another facility? Or how, I wasn't necessarily entirely clear from the workshop, the function here, if it's just parking or if it's in and out or what it is.
It's storage, so there's just parking. They come, they put the trailer there and leave. Probably, I don't know if you know any metrics on how many in and out a day. I was assuming only a handful, correct?
Well, I mean, a site of this size, you know, you would potentially have, you know, multiple users on the site and different work patterns, but there's not necessarily a dedicated approach to shuttling trailers or anything. It's just store them here, and then when the next driver comes in, or the driver comes in to get his trailer to do a haul, he'll pick his trailer up. And it would be, all, you know, basically off-site storage for another facility that just didn't have room to park at their facility.
Okay, because that's my concern is, as we discussed, the junction there, because that junction further down, as we get to 41, that's a concern.
Are they empty when they're stored? I don't know that that's ever been said. Empty or completely
They're
empty?
typically empty.
Typically, or they will be?
They don't have to be empty, no, they could have product on them, but, I mean, it would be a mixture of trailers parked that may be in transit, and so they may put it here and have some product on it, and another driver picks it up and takes it the rest of the way, or it could be empty.
Is there a concern as to what could be stored there?
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that something that we address, or
Really, as long as
is
it's
there
placarded.
control over certain
with a
things aren't
thing.
stored beside each other in case there's a fire and certain things can happen? I mean, it seems like there's not a whole lot of,
Not typically in my public safety region that most people don't ever, as long as they're labeled properly, they're in a closed container, it doesn't matter that
I couldn't hear you.
they're in a closed container, it normally doesn't matter that they're 3 feet away from another container as long as it's in another closed container. My question and concern with this is what is the fencing or the type of security that you're gonna keep around this that keeps the riffraff from going in, it's probably a bad term and I apologize, to keep anything from illegal happening inside this facility or potential of that?
Yeah, so from last time, we did add a fence around the whole perimeter. And we did, I believe it's kind of specified on the landscaping plans as to what type that is. But it should be a, you know, kind of nicer looking fence as you all requested.
How tall is that fence?
I don't know what they specified, it's probably just a 6 foot, looks like a 6 foot fence. Yeah.
Will it be gated to get in and out? Will somebody have to have a code in order to get in and out? How do they do that? Parking on Big Buchanan, trying to get into this facility.
So we made sure we had length on the entryway before the gate for them to come in and stop and let the gate open.
So what happens if you have 5 people that are coming in at the same time?
Well, then it does back up. It would probably depend on how quick the gate is, but that would be.
It's not gonna be that quick.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, you're letting a 60-foot piece of equipment come through the gate.
Yeah. We don't really have any way of preventing that other than just kind of assuming that they hopefully will not have that much traffic throughout the day, and that would be a rare instance.
That's a very busy road.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I was asking as far as how much in and out, because we have to gauge worst case scenario from our standpoint, because you aren't the only users on this road. We've got multiple businesses, and then at the same time, that is one of a handful of entrances to Lake Forest Estates. So, I mean, that
Any congestion is a problem
yes.
in that area, really is.
Mr. Chairman, could I have just a couple of comments for
Please,
cool?
Alderman Coates.
So I see you have the proposed automatic gate, and it was my understanding from the workshop that it would be dustless. It would appear to me that from the gate, you have a area that's shaded concrete pavement.
Yes, there's concrete pavement, and then past that, that is double bituminous surface treatment, pavement, asphalt.
Okay, so it is always, so where does that finish? It's not really indicated, you got the DBST pavement.
Right.
But that would indicate the whole area, as far as I'm concerned, from this drawing,
Yes.
because it shows just clear.
It would be, so it would be within the demarcated perimeter there. Guess we could hatch that to make it a little bit more clear what is actual surface and what is grass.
Because at the moment, the way I'm seeing it, although you got listed DBST, top left corner, it just shows a white box, and for me, that shows the whole area, so that's one issue. Two is, what's the dimension from that proposed automatic gate to the entranceway to the road?
I believe we measured 80 feet. I need to add that definitely needs a dimension on it.
And just in general, for my comment for the board is, for 167 proposed spaces, if you took, 100 of those and you stacked 100 trucks up, I mean, you'd line up from Murfreesboro Road all the way to this junction, I mean, all to this entranceway. And I just have a real big problem with this whole project, I really do. Just logistically, for the road and the tractors on there at the moment, with the other businesses on there, it's a real problem road. It really is. Without something getting done to the road, it's going to be a nightmare for us as residents that use that road.
Thank you, sir. My only comment is that with over 400 parking spots, almost 5, almost 6, there's no restroom or facilities on this project that I'm aware of, is there?
Not at this time, yeah.
That's a lot of folks to not have, even if there's only a small percentage on property at one time, that still does not allow them to have a facility. And 11 acres deep at the back of the parking lot. And if it's a transfer station, you're also gonna have truckers that are waiting around and waiting for their time to get started, where they can drive again and put their hours on the road. So we really need to address that concern as well. I'm having some reservations in regards to that. That's my comment. Any other comments or questions? Mr.
You
Oliver?
have the two types of fencing. Is wooden fencing, is that accurate? Because I see it called out as white screws and such as that, and I'm wondering, is this a white vinyl fence or is this a wooden fence as it is described and called out?
I do not know. My landscape guy was the one who spec'd that, so I'd have to check that with him.
And would you be with the aluminum wrought iron look across the front at the street, and then this dog-eared fence for the other three sides? Am I interpreting that correctly?
I believe that is correct, yes.
Okay. Clarification on those two issues would be appreciated.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think we have a lot of unanswered questions. I think everyone's had the chance to speak, and Ms. Rutledge needs to speak. But just to comment, we've got a lot of unanswered questions here that need to be resolved first, I believe.
Absolutely.
So I apologize. Like, some of this probably should have been caught in the workshop, and it wasn't. So I apologize to you for that. My question is, what is your plans? What is your goal for this? I mean, other than storing, I mean, you got to be making money, right? You're not just giving free spots for somebody to come and hang out. So what is your goal? I mean, what's the purpose of this?
So, I mean, I'm sure you see everywhere, there's a lot of demand for storage of trailers. And so at this location, essentially you would lease space to users that need trailer storage.
Would they be leasing by the day? Would they be leasing by the month?
The idea would be for it to would have term, or whether it's, I mean, in other facilities that we are familiar with or have it's not too different than a warehouse lease in that
Okay.
regard.
Next thing, because it's probably fixing to happen, you know that, right? That you're gonna get asked to defer this, or we're gonna defer this for you. And we can talk about it in the workshop. But my question would be that you eliminate some of those parking spots on this side of that way that you can extend your gate down this way and allow. I just did some quick math, and in a 24-hour period for 496 spots, you're looking at 20 tractors an hour. That's an hour. 20 an hour. That road can't, number one, cannot handle that type of stuff. If you split it in half, it's still 10.3. Like that can't handle that. So we're gonna have to push some of that into this lot in order to be able to accommodate for them coming in and out of that gate. Now, that's just my personal opinion. Again, it doesn't go very far, so. With that being said, I'm done with comments.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Gold, do you have something to say?
No, I would, yeah, if there was no other conversation.
Yeah, I have a question. So your entrance, the 48 feet, will that accommodate a truck coming in and a truck going out at the same time?
Yes, more easily,
So there's no.
yeah.
Very good. No
I'm
other-
in agreement with Commissioner Rutledge, but I do have a question about the, as far as the length of the driveway, but you said you have a no right turn sign, but there's nothing you could do to make it less appealing to make a right turn, yet you have a sweeping curb going to the right that's very inviting for a right turn.
Yes, to a degree, that's also if, for whatever god awful reason, they came down from the other direction and they were to turn into this, you know, that is for the people turning left, coming, I guess, south down Big Buchanan. That makes sense.
Coming from the neighborhood.
Yeah, which is, obviously, we don't want them coming that direction at all. But if for some reason they get lost, they go past, they go up there and somehow manage to turn around, I just believe it's still good to accommodate that.
But if there's not another truck there, couldn't they still turn in there regardless?
Possibly, yes. We could pull that straighter and give it a smaller radius if that is preferred.
I don't know so much about radius, but to me, just when you see it sweeping to the right, that just kind of invites you to make that right-hand turn.
I mean, wouldn't you have
Even if the
to,
radius stayed the same, but it wasn't a sweeping curve, to me, that's less
Yeah.
inviting.
I mean, for us, it doesn't matter if, I mean, we don't see a purpose in a truck going down there, and, you know, the corridor was really back out to Murfreesboro Road, so, but it seems to me, I mean, you may still want to accommodate an emergency vehicle that might have to take a right-hand turn out of there, but.
Yeah.
Additionally, I think it would be good if, for workshop, if y'all are able to come up with some types of numbers to show us both typical and peak trailers, tractor trailers coming in and out of here, because we've got to look at that as well. That is a huge aspect of this, and I think we all know that. So if y'all can get those, both the average and the peak.
Appreciated if it makes it to workshop again. So with that, I will entertain a motion, Mayor Cole.
Make a motion to defer.
Motion to
Second.
defer, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rutledge, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion passes. We will see you guys at workshop and we'll whittle away at this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
With that, our final item is bonds and letters of credit update. Mr. Leach.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. They're in the back as always. Only change is Mr. Shrubman put in his $55,000 for Frank Walkup 2. You'll see that's been updated accordingly, and that's really it.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. Meeting adjourned.